So of course it's Christmas time and you're probably going to notice something very, very soon. You walk down any main street in Australia and there they are. Kids on fast e-bikes, absolutely flooding the place, zipping past at ridiculous speeds, no helmets, 2 or 3 hanging off the frame. It feels quite chaotic and every man and their dog has their opinion on it. Parents, politician, police, talkback radio, and of course myself. But instead of doing an old man yells at cloud story, we're actually going to dig a little bit deeper into this and look at the legislation as to why a lot of these kind of bikes are unregulated at the moment. It's not really about kids doing wheelies on Boxing Day. This is about safety. The European Union and the moment Barnaby Joyce quietly ripped out the safety standards that kept the whole thing under control. So what does Brussels, Barnaby, and 12-year-olds popping a wheelie on the footpath have in common? Turns out quite a lot, and we're going to dig into it. Now let me take you back to a glory day past. Australia once had a solid set of e-bike rules. We basically followed Europe's EN 15194 standard, which caps motors at 250 watts for power and cuts that power over 25 kilometers an hour. You have to pedal in order for the motor to work and forced importers to meet proper safety and battery certification. Kind of makes sense, right? This is in a day and an age where e-bikes weren't really a massive thing. Then in 2021, in comes Barnaby Joyce as Transport Minister. His assistant Kevin Hogan quietly removed those safeguards from the Road Vehicle Standards Act, claiming they wanted to simplify the definition of e-bikes. And look, I might be a little bit facetious with the title of this video. It could just come down to bureaucratic meddling and some changing of legislation. But what did actually happen in practice is that they redefined e-bikes not as road vehicles, which would cover them under a different type of insurance and regulation. Instead, they excluded them from road vehicle regulation, which is a tiny bureaucratic tweak, but has a massive consequence. That single change meant that importers no longer had to meet minimum safety standards, no inspections, no compliance, no limits on power or speed, and once that door opened, it exploded. Imports of e-bikes went from 9,000 in 2017 to more than 260,000 just last year. Many of them cheap, poorly built, overloaded with power, and prone to battery fires. Now, the most popular of these bikes is one that you've probably seen. It's the Dirodie models, which you could buy at pretty much any major retail store. They come in a range of power options and are marketed as family-friendly entry-level e-bikes, but still cost over $2,000. But with that, these bikes are also some of the easiest to modify. With a few taps in the settings or a cheap tuning dongle which you can buy online, you can unlock higher speeds, bypass the pedal assist requirement, or boost the motor well beyond its legal limits. That accessibility is part of their appeal, right? But it's also a major reason they keep showing up in incident reports. Look, I'm an e-bike owner myself. I've got a very, very nice electric mountain bike that I use to ride everywhere around town. E-bikes aren't the enemy here. But unfortunately, without good regulation, a lot of accidents are happening. Hospitals have been sounding the alarm for months now. The Sydney Children's Hospital Network says that 94 kids have been injured this year, almost triple the number from 2023. Now, more than 500 riders have presented to New South Wales emergency departments over the past 2 years. Victoria, by the way, has seen a 627% increase in e-bike injuries since 2019. Nationwide, 40 riders have died in the past 5 years, and tragically earlier this week, when recording this video, another young person lost their life. Now, battery fires here are another thing to talk about. New South Wales recorded 323 lithium-ion fires last year. Look, not all of them are e-bikes, but they're related. Lithium-ion battery fires are not just simple flames you can put out. They are thermal runaway events. When cheap or damaged battery cells overheats, it triggers a chain reaction where the cell ignites the next. The battery vents explosive gas and temperatures can jump above 1,000 degrees. And you can't put this out with water. It reignites repeatedly until the entire battery pack just burns itself out. Poorly built e-bike batteries are especially vulnerable because they can often lack proper insulation, cooling, or even just protection on the battery itself. This is why there's so much regulation around electric car batteries, is to prevent this kind of stuff. But on cheap imported e-bikes, there's not really anything there. Now, there is some changes coming, which is good. Now, under pressure, the Transport Minister, Catherine King, says that she will restore the European import standards, which we mentioned at the start of this video. They're also looking at introducing power caps, 25km/h cutoffs with pedal assist only, and obviously after the fatal crash in Ultimo earlier this week, the New South Wales government says it's preparing to fast-track state-level e-bike regulations in order to bring this up to federal standards.
We're not making them illegal, we're not ruling them out, but when someone's zooming past you quicker than a motorbike, it's going to lead to people being killed.
Now that's a great start despite the tragedy, but it doesn't fix the thousands of substandard bikes that are already out there on the street. And it also doesn't address the fractured state-based rules that emerged after Joyce walked away from his national responsibility when he changed the laws in 2021. And unfortunately, it doesn't stop kids modifying the bikes. New South Wales even raised their power limit to 500 watts in 2023, despite expert advice against it. Now, on a federal level, independent MP Sophie Scamps introduced a bill to legislate e-bike rules that specifically ban tampering, but she was mocked by a lot of MPs who insisted it was a state-level issue, passing the buck on so no one can get help. Now, I want to clarify something, right? The e-bikes and the kids riding them aren't the villains in this story. They are genuinely life-changing devices when they are built safely and used properly. As an e-bike owner myself, they make everyday travel more accessible. They open up cycling to people who would never touch a traditional bike because of fitness, age, or disability. And for thousands of riders, they replace car trips entirely, which, is pretty good for the planet because it cuts emissions. The technology itself is brilliant, but the problem is not the e-bikes themselves, it's the lack of sensible regulation around them. There's also a problem that Australian roads, through decades of terrible decisions by successive governments, are not built for bike riders. So when you've got kids who can jump out into a road at 50km/h, there's no infrastructure there to protect them. What we currently have now is a regulatory mess, a generation of kids riding machines that can be easily hacked to exceed legal speed limits. Backyard mods, throttles on bikes that are supposed to be pedal assist only, and 1,000 lithium-ion batteries that are charging in bedrooms across Australia. And all of it because two ministers decided to simplify the law. Now, it shouldn't take another major tragedy like we saw this week for Australia to sort something out as basic as national e-bike rules. But for the first time in years, it looks like governments are paying attention quite quickly, and we might see some changes very, very soon. So if you're out there shopping for an e-bike for yourself or for kids for Christmas, just make sure they can't be modified. By the way, thank you to our sponsor, Optical Warehouse and Island Optical. They pay the journalists that you see here at Michael West Media so we can deliver these stories to you guys. So thank you so much to our sponsors.